Welcome to OnShore Radio. We are onshore. We got a great guest for you today. Sorry for the delay or the late start, but I am sure to bring you a great show on today. As you know, Onshore is a show dedicated to literary fiction from crime, mystery, love, romance. We got it all here on Onshore. Because there is a sea of books out there, we bring the author and the books on shore so you get acquainted with the characters, the plot, the themes, the storyline, everything that makes a great book. And today we have a author for you. We have Untamed. Untamed, all the way from Augusta, Georgia. Untamed is a multi-genre fiction author who accredits her early education in magnet school program for her creative mind and passion for the literary field. She is a graduate of University of Maryland University College and is an honored member of Sigma Phi Pi. She first found her love of writing as a young child, and that's great, especially with this day and age. You can hardly get children reading. So we're going to find out what has attracted her as a young child to love writing and reading at an early age. It was a novel entitled Coming of Age by Lori Hewitt that truly inspired Untamed, and she became a flame. She ignited and ready to do the work of an author. Welcome to the show, Onshore, Untamed. Are you still there with us?
Yes, I am here. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
You sound wonderful. Let's just jump right off. I'm happy to have you on the show. How are you surviving out here? What's going on? You know, we're in the midst of COVID, and I just want to get a pulse on what's going on with our authors out there.
Well, thank you so much for having me first. I really am honored to be a part of the Onshore Doc Radio show. As far as COVID, I'm just, first and foremost, I'm staying prayed up. I pray over the world, my family, friends, everyone, just to keep them safe. God keep them, in His care. But also being precautious. I stay at home as much as possible. I'm a bit of an introvert, so being at home doesn't bother me. It gets a little, I guess I should say, at home it gets a little crowded because now the kids are home all the time and they're kind of, like, wait, this is getting old now, staying at home, cooped up in the house all the time. but it has been a spark to my creativity, to be honest. I'm always creative, but it seems like just having this extra time to sit around and think is just motivating me to come up with different stories, different projects. So my mind is actually on creative overload right now.
That is good that we have learned how to take advantage of this time, of this environment, and our authors. You guys, you can't really get out and be amongst the people, which we love to be amongst the author, to just touch. Even though in a virtual world, somewhere along the way, we just really want to be around our authors, around the books. We say books are going away, but books is ever present, especially in this day and time. So, I just applaud you for just being wise and enjoying your children and enjoying the literary writing and reading. So, let's just move on and really dive into Untamed and her literary works. Where did the name Untamed, first of all, come from?
Well, okay. And I love when I get asked this question because, and I always make a joke about this because a lot of people assume that it's an erotic connotation, but that's not where it actually came from. One little known fact about me, it's about to be well known because I said it a few times now, but I'm a PK, a preacher's kid.
Uh-oh.
And yeah, so when I was writing at first, I would hold back, from telling stories the way that I really wanted to tell them or writing certain things because I am a preacher's kid. But I saw that it was stifling my creativity in my writing. And when you're stifled, you can't present your work the
Mm-hmm.
best you can, because you're not really saying or letting your creativity flow how you feel. So I just made up in my mind. I was like, look, I would have a conversation with my dad and just let him know this is, I'm going to be a writer. And it might be some things that you might not want to read, but
Uh-huh.
this is what it is. When I let go of that, I was like, okay, so now my writing is not tamed. It's not, I'm not holding back from what I want to write, how I want to write it. I don't want to be boxed into one genre. And so when I kept saying, I wasn't tamed anymore, I was like, you know what, that would be a great pen name, Untamed. And so that's how I came to it.
Wow, so it's a story, it's a backdrop to where a lot of singers, they change and they shift, but they really don't change their name. But I understand how you would change your pen name, so that's excellent and honorable. So,
Thank you. And,
uh,
and surprisingly, my dad did actually read it. He has read the book, and he's okay with
let me
it.
tell you something. On a short note, I Mary B. Morrison had this book called Single Husbands, and I had a pastor in the store. He said, why on earth would I get that book? And it's so exciting, and all this and that. And then I said, Pastor, African American literature comes from an essence of reality. Guess what?
Yes,
If she's writing about single husband, guess what? You have a single husband problem in your church. And so he took that book, and I don't know if I'm sure he did something with the book, but he took that book and he probably paraphrased a sermon related to that book, because African American literature comes from an essence of reality. So I believe your father probably like read it. It's entertainment, but there's something that you could always bring to a pulpit. Sometimes you have to teach the bad to tell the good. So that's
exactly.
so that's my little.
Exactly. And he
Go ahead.
And he said that he was like, at first I went in there reading, thinking about the fact that you're my daughter, so I had to put it down a couple of times. But then he said, but then after I got into it, he was like, I forgot, who wrote it, and I just really read it for the story. And he was like, and you have a lot of great messages in there. He was like, and it's really to help people through everyday life. And he was like, he said, I saw it. And he just started naming the different messages that were in there. And I was like, yeah, you really read the story for the story.
I'm telling you, it is amazing. That's why I just love fiction literature, and that's why on OnShore we focus on literary fiction, because there's so many different genres out there. But I think with so many books out there, I think we have to create a platform where we let those voices be heard and those stories and those backdrops be heard. And OnShore is supported by the Doc Bookshop. We do have your book on the website, and it is discounted at www.thedocbookshop.com, and we will competitively price with Amazon. So, but if you go to our website, you can find out other areas in which you can get our book. But we'll get into that a little bit later, because we're wanting to jump on the view. You guys cannot see a picture of the book. When we were trying to live stream, you can see a beautiful picture of the book, but we don't have that picture. But you can definitely go to the website to see the picture. I want to just start off talking about the book, The View. Tell us
Yes.
more about the book, The View.
The View, it's funny. I told you I'm inspired by a lot of things. My creativity goes in overload. The View actually came about because of a picture that I saw. One of my friends posted a picture of the inside of a hotel bedroom looking out on the city. So that was the premise of, how I first just inspired. And then this entire story came around that one picture. But the View itself, it's about Carly and Michael, who are a married couple. And they have a great marriage, awesome marriage. Just, great foundation. In terms of old school tradition, they really started off the right way. The way, first come love, then come marriage, all of that good stuff.
Then come the
So
nice house. Then come the nice house. Then come the fancy cars.
Yes, into a nice house, nice income, educated, all of that good stuff. they have a great foundation. However, what happens is there's a crack, a very small crack in their marriage where Michael is a little bit older than Carly. So he is like fully established in where he is and he's comfortable. Whereas she's at a certain, level, but she's still climbing in her professional career because she is super smart. She's a whip. And that's where the small crack begins because he starts to want different things within their marriage that she's not ready for. And they start forgetting how to communicate and talk to each other. And once the communication breaks down, it opens the doors for all kind of other foolishness to enter. And foolishness is by the name Hudson. But when Hudson enters the situation, it becomes, well, is the grass really green on the other side? Did I really marry who I was supposed to marry? So that is the premise of it. It just shows the difficulty in love and relationships and how you have to stick to the foundations of a relationship in order to keep it strong. Because if there are cracks in it, it can fall apart.
And their relationship is so indicative of what a lot of relationships are going through today. I mean, you have this foundation, this love, this relationship, this building, these fancy cars, all these material things, and we kind of lose somewhere. It is that little crack, if you would, that just shakes up world. And how do you get through it? I don't want to tell the full, but some people may have already read the book because the book was published in, I want to say, was it last year?
Yes, it was. It was released July of 2019.
Yeah, 2000. So some of you guys may have read it, but for those that have not read it, what would you tell that reader to, be expecting, or where would you leave that reader that haven't read it yet?
I would say these two things, assuredly. It is an erotic romance, so expect the spice to be there. I always say that first because there is a good, storyline behind it, but I also have a really deep, rich element of erotic romance inside of it as well. So I always try to say that part first. Secondly, I like to tell readers to read it for the storyline. Think about your relationship or your marriage, and if it is good, how you can continue to keep it strong. If it is, if you see where there's some breakdown in communication, you feel yourself, pulling away from your spouse or your significant other, not being able to communicate or, confide or trust them with your feelings, then that is what this story is about and how that plays a big role, despite, how great that person is or what all you have. That break right there breaks down your relationship. And, you have to just look at the view of everything when it comes to your relationship, not just who they are, not just what you have, but what you share between you two. And that's what you have to work on building up and keeping strong.
Excellent. Now, I want to jump in. They have careers, and a lot of people are involved in careers. When you have a household where he's an attorney and she's a marketing director, how much do you say that played a role in terms of the dysfunction that starts to occur within their relationship?
I think it plays a major role because in Michael's case, he's an attorney, but he owns his own firm. So he's planted and rooted in his career. Like if he wants to be able to go do something, he has associate attorneys, a partner, he has all of these things established where, he can kind of move around a bit and do what he wants. But, she works for a company that she is climbing inside of this company. And she's well on her way. She's got a new position. And it plays a major role because, of course, it with women, especially with us, we are first. We're strong and we're independent, and when we go after something, we go. And so we want to put our 100%, 150% into it. And that comes a lot of times because we're so underestimated, that we just want to strive for our very best. And I think sometimes, when you have a man who's established, he's past that point, so he doesn't really get it. And so that portion of it plays a part. Then, of course, um, with I don't want to give that part of the story away, but with certain things in a marriage, he feels like her career is just going to deflect from their household. And so, in essence, it's not really fair to her because he's got a firm, he's planted in what he's doing and he's secure. And she's like, okay, but this is my dream before I even met you or married you. So let me have my moment, and then we'll come back to some of these other things. And he's not trying to. And I think that's a common problem. A lot of times you have one person who's established or more established than the other career-wise. And so you start playing, it starts to feel like a tug of war sometimes between the man and the woman.
And I'm going to play a little bit of the devil's advocate here, because
Okay.
sometimes we get, you get a lot of literary works where there's always this outside antagonist, and I'm wondering if in the view, can the reader expect an outside antagonist? Like, there's always a situation where there's adultery, lies and deceits and deceit and deception. Where does that play a role in the book?
Now that played a major role because this is the thing, whereas when Preston comes along, he's a breath of fresh air. And sometimes, she wrote the cardinal rules. She started confiding, little things here and there with him, and he's able to make a decision on what he was saying, and he could craft what he wants to say to her based off of what he thinks she wants to hear. And a lot of times that can play a big role because if you have someone in your ear who's telling you, the things you want, saying all the right things, doing all the right things, then of course you stop even wanting or trying to fix what's breaking on the other end because you're like, why should I try when I have this person over here who I can talk to, I can confide in, and they understand me and they get it. So that is where adultery plays a big role in any, type of relationship, because the reason why the person, let me say it like this, majority of the time, a person is, having an affair is because they feel like that other person is offering them something they're not getting from their significant other. So it's like, okay, but are they really offering that, or are they just telling you that to be able to be with you? And that's the question.
And sometimes we don't even, outside of the book, into realistically, sometimes we don't get it. We don't see it till after the fact. And that's why I said sometimes if you read, authors can even help you in the pitfalls of life, in the pitfalls of relationship. And that's what I think The View does, especially if you're going into a relationship. You want to go like this romantic, nothing happens, unadulterated relationship, but things happen. People change, hearts, minds, emotions change. And sometimes this is a lesson of life. And to me, just restarting Read the View, it's a lesson of life. It's a lesson of learning what I can or cannot do. And and I wholeheartedly take literary works personally. Sometimes I take it too personal. I had to change out what I read a lot because I take it too personal. Personal because in African American literature, you learn a lot about life, about contemporary things that are going on. Can you discuss the character Carly and her just coming of age within that relationship?
Okay, she is a young lady who is And let me just tell her background story. First of all, she's an only child, and she comes from a background where her parents are super professional. They were high strung on education. So she graduated, high school early. She graduated college at a young age with both her bachelor's and master's degree. And she has always been very cookie cutter and, straight laced, always focused on school, career. That's how she was raised. So in saying that, you get to understand that this from Carly is not something that she's doing to try to, in her marriage, to try to, just strike discord, but it's how she's been raised and it's all she's known. Because she, in the book, her character even reveals that her husband is like her only true boyfriend. She only had like one other person in her whole life. So by the time she got married, he was like her main, boyfriend, her one true love and everything. So she's like, this is very fresh and new to her on all aspects. So, just having a relationship, period, she never had an experience to go through highs and lows and ups and downs. So her marriage is her true first relationship. And so she's not balanced that. And outside of just watching her mom and dad, she doesn't know on a personal note how relationships work. So that's her inner workings. And her as a career professional and how that works. She is younger than Michael. So, and she's not extremely younger, but she's like 8 years younger than him. So he's had a few years ahead of her to get established. And they kind of meet when she's at the beginning of her career climb. And so it picks up, the story itself picks up where she's coming into her own and she's maturing not only professionally. It's like when she gets to a certain level professionally, personally, she starts to grow as a woman, as an adult. So even that is changing about her. And he's just not used to it, and that's another thing, as older you get, you change, you grow, you learn different things about yourself, and, and if you're in a marriage or in any type of long-term relationship, you have to learn to grow with each other, because you are not going to be the same person at 21 as you are at 30, as you are at 35, and then sometimes you're just a different person than you were from 30 to 31. So, that is another aspect, and that is what encompasses Carly.
Now, do you think she just got bored waiting? You're boring. Do you think some shape, form, way, like, I'm just bored with you, like, that I guess in her actions, she didn't do enough to make her relationship better with Michael. So do you think it was really her and not really, trying to build that and strengthen that relationship and just wanting to step out and just eager to step out? I'm thinking that she has a lot more fault than Michael right now.
Look, and I always play devil's advocate for Carly.
Uh-huh.
It's very subtle with her. She's in a transition phase because she realizes that she's always been straight laced, cookie cutter, and kind of boring herself. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
And that's what her husband married. But she knows he had a wild side. They've talked about that. Before he got with her, he was wild, he was loose, fancy free. He was like, so she's at that transition in her life where she's like, okay, I'm married, I'm like, she's like, I'm a grown woman now, you know what I'm saying? I can do some things, I can cut loose a little bit, I can, I've reached where I gotta go. Let me explore this love side, this relationship side with my husband, and kind of let loose a little bit, and he, in her defense, he's not receptive, and I think that takes her, catches her off guard, because she knows, hey, you used to be, fun loving and willing to try different things and do new stuff, and now you're with me and you're like, nope, And she's like, wait a minute, I want to, at least I'm trying to do this with you, so, and then I think that is part of that, with her, it's like, she wanted to try with Michael, but he kept. It was like she was this pretty piece of glass, an ornament, and he just wanted to put her on this high pedestal and this shelf and kind of admire her and not ding her or scratch her or anything that would change his perception of her. And so she's like, look, I'm human. I understand this is how it was, but I'm changing and I need you to change with me. So I always play her devil's advocate on that role.
Let me tell you guys, we are on Doc Radio onshore, and we are on with author Untamed, and she is talking about the book The View. She has quite a bit of books out there. We are going to talk about her other books, but we're finishing up on this discussion on The View. And I want to say that you guys get this book, read it along with me. What I was telling the people that we have Untamed back on the line, and she is going to, hopefully you can read an excerpt from the book or share with us an excerpt from the book. But please go out and get this book. It's Carly and Michael. He wants a family, and she wants to build her career. The battle begins. And who's going to come out victorious? Where is it going to go? And then there's this other character that draws her attention, which is Hudson. So it goes through a lot of twists and turns and weaves, and you learn a lot about these different characters, a lot about personalities. But please go out and get this book. Did you find an excerpt you can share with us?
Now, I want to ask before I read. I always ask. So, do I need to make sure it's PG or?
This is OnShore, so this is adult literature.
Okay.
This is grown folks. We good.
We good.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna find something really.
While you look for something, I want to share with the audience that again you can go to the docbookshop.com. The OnShore is supported by the Doc Bookshop, and please visit their website at www.thedocbookshop.com. You're on Doc Radio. You can also get the audiobook and the ebook on the website. So please look at the website and support our authors. Get their work and share their information.
Let's see. I'm gonna share this snippet. As a premise, Michael and Carly have had a huge fight, and Michael actually left the house for a while in a few days, and he's finally come back home, and she's excited he's back, and she wants to work on her marriage, and Michael is like, I don't want to hear it. I'm just here. Because basically he's like, you kept bugging me to come home, so I'm here. But they have this section where I say it's the turning point for her, where she's just really turned off from him at this point. And so that's the premise for it. And so I'm going to just read a little bit from that point. It was one thing to be kinky and freaky together in love, but this was unfathomable. Carly had never seen this side of Michael. Truly, he was reverting to the man he had told her he used to be before they met. She couldn't believe that this same man who had vowed to love, honor, and protect her was being so cold and uncaring of her emotions, her heart, and her body. A feeling of betrayal welled up inside her, and she slapped him before she realized what was happening. How dare you, she seized. How dare you treat me like this? What I did may have been wrong, but it doesn't warrant this type of caveman behavior from you. Get out, she yelled. Michael's anger rose. It's not caveman. Slapping me like that? That's caveman. The hell is wrong with you? You care nothing about my feelings for 4 years, and then you want to complain because I'm choosing to attempt to get sex from my wife? Fine. If I leave, I'm leaving the house, and you better pray to God that Vaseline continues to do the trick. He jumped up from the bed and began to put his pajamas back on, and Carly grew frantic. Though she was pissed, she didn't want to lose the opportunity to make it work. She felt so low and cheap, but if using her would keep him here, then she'd allow it. Well, she prayed that instead he would change his mind or at least simply make love to her. She had faith that he wouldn't actually go through with this madness. It had to be a test. That's it, just a test to see if I'm willing to do anything to keep him. She was going to prove him wrong, and in turn, he'd forget this stupid whole sex plan and treat her like his wife. Okay, Michael. She swallowed hard and lay back on the bed. Her voice and her hands trembled as she nodded. Do what you need to do. He nodded his head and took a deep breath. After slowly easing back in the bed, he hovered on top of her and quickly removed her thongs. He leaned over and took the KY jelly out of the nightstand drawer, then flicked his head, opened her legs, and slid inside. He lay pressed tightly against her as he barbarically pumped and grunted, with his face almost buried in the pillows. Carly held in her cries as hot tears slid out of her eyes, while her husband had his way with her without any regard to her pain. She couldn't believe that he was actually going through with this. In that moment, her heart shattered. And that is my snippet from the view.
You guys, that is a heater, you guys. That is hot. That you mentioned these throughout the book. You mentioned these tests and this going back and forward. What role did like the because there's a lot of undertones. There's a lot of religious undertones, Christian undertones. What role did the religion and the Christian undertones play within the story?
Yeah, it played a huge undertone, especially for Michael, because the way it's crafted, as you can kind of see, Michael is the one who was more reared in church, and he, came up in it, and so he was more involved in it. Something that she more or less got into when she married him, because she kind of falls back rather quickly, from the religious side of things. But for him, he's always morally struggling, which is one of the reasons why, he has all of these doubts and fears about treating her and doing certain things in the bedroom and, just trying new stuff and being, kind of free with his wife because it out of it is steeped in his religious background. Like he feels like I was with one type of woman when I was out in the world, and now I need to be with this type of woman now that I'm married, and I don't need those two worlds mixing together, So he's like, no, we don't need to do this, and he is very, and he used it as his moral barometer because, there's one portion in the book where he actually goes to church, and he's listening to the pastor, and he's like, you know what? He's right. I need to fix this. He prays about it really hard, and he uses his religious background, his Christianity, as his game. Now, he like many people does it after he was messed up, but it's like he doesn't realize that maybe I should have been doing this before. I did it, but he's like, I was trying and. But he went to his defense on that, he was hurt. And so when you're hurt people, even if they're, especially ones that are closest to you, because you feel the most betrayed by those who are closest to you. So after he realizes that I probably shouldn't have done some of the stuff I did, it becomes his compass to come back to try to bring his marriage back together. And so he has more of a strong footing with that than she does. Yeah. She feels bad about a lot of stuff, yes, but she doesn't often go, into her Christianity about it. And so you see that difference between them.
Wow. And I want to say, you guys get the book because there is so much. You also think about Michael's character, but now you had to consider Hudson's role in their relationship and jumping in. And does she sleep with Hudson? I'm not going to tell you that. You had to read and see, does she have an affair with him? Is there some sexual attraction? What happens with all that? And you guys, let me tell you something. It is very much there. It is very a gripping tale of the nature between Hudson and Carly. So I'll just leave it at that, right?
Right. Right.
And I,
It's gripping. It is very gripping. It's one of those things that goes back to what I was saying earlier.
oh, do we have?
He
Okay, I think we have a. Do we have a caller that came in? Okay, let me. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
okay. And but it goes back to what I was saying earlier. You know, he is able to kind of be a voice to her where it's a very strong voice, you know, where he's offering her advice and opinions. And a lot of times I will give Hudson this credit. He's actually presenting a lot of truth to her, you know, and that she's not, you know, willing to really look at first about her marriage. And some of it is intentional, some of it isn't intentional. And I think the unintentional portions are the parts that really get to Carly. It's because he's speaking to her at times that he doesn't even realize he is. Um, and that is where a lot of troubles can come in any relationship. So let's start outside of your marriage or relationship, starts to speak your love language a little bit, you know, and speak to your mentality and your heart. You have to you have to learn how to separate it and step back. And you know, and like I said, one thing about Carly, she's new to relationships and she's not really had to battle through certain things, so she doesn't really know how to handle where her and Michael are right now. So I'll leave the readers with that.
And if you have a question for the author and if you read her work before and you want to share, please call 972-427-7795. But I want to go in. Carly is a poet, right? Before we close out, because
Yes.
I do want you to talk about your other work. Carly's a poet, right?
Yes, she is. She is a closet poet. She writes, and she, you know, no one really knows when she writes. She just keeps it in her journal, but she is a poet. She likes to craft poetry.
And you know, I just want to read. I know you read, so I think I want to take it upon myself to read. You know, some of her feelings and emotions and insight. Is that okay if I read? What's your favorite poem from Carly? Is it "Smitten in Between," "Betrayal"?
It is my favorite one from her is C.
Is it which one?
C, and I think C is at the very beginning.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, I think I'm gonna read "Betrayal." That's crazy.
Okay.
You know, C is. I don't want to because I want to talk to you about some of your other works, and C might be a little bit longer. Is "Betrayal" okay? That's towards the end. "Betrayal" or "In Between"?
Betrayal or in between. Either one is fine.
Okay. Secret kisses shared under the dark skies. Lust-filled thoughts seeping through the eyes. Loyalty is great, but temptation is greater. Love is good, but lust is better. When the mirror reflects reality, new revelations bring out clarity. Nothing done in the dark ever escapes unscathed. Silent prayers go unanswered with the unsaved. In your pity, you will wallow. Your regrets you swallow. Your apologies, why bother when it's fantasies that were coddled. Empathy turns to empathy turns to anger, sympathy to hate. Can't run from what was created in this way. Dark skies open us up. A dawn of a new day. Split in half, left open to the perils of the betrayed. Untamed. I want to say, you
Yeah.
know, I read that in the spirit of Poetry Month. It is Poetry Month. And so that's one
Yes.
thing I keyed in on. That's poetry. It's April, Poetry Month. And I think The View is a great book. It was a page turner. I didn't get to the end, but I'm going to get to the end. Um, we have another caller. I don't know if she wanted to share or did you want to share, or she's going to go to her next book, talking about her
Hello?
literary. Um, from New
Hello?
York. if you want to
Hello.
share, hello. Okay.
Am I-
Yes.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi,
caller
I'm
there.
Jane. Hello.
Yes, caller there.
Hello,
We
how
can
are
hear
you?
you. Did you want to share?
Hi. Yes, I did. I wanted to say how proud I am of Miss Untamed. This is erotic cookies.
Hey, Rodney, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. And I'm very proud of you and all that you've done. You are an
Thank
amazing writer. You are an amazing poet. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep pushing for greatness. Never let anything or anyone stand in your way. You're on your way to the top. And when you get there, I'm popping bottles with you,
All
okay?
right, that's right. I'll bring you with me so we can make sure we
No,
pop.
honey, I love you. I love you. I love everything that you do. And you know I support anything that you do.
Well, I
Thank
want to
you
be
so much,
popping
Miss
bottles with
Donna.
you guys.
You are welcome to
I
come
wait.
to a
I don't
party.
even drink. I don't even drink, but I'll pop the bottles with you
Hey,
because you
you.
know something. Some people deserve that. You know what I mean? We need our cheerleaders at the top waiting for us, like at the finish line, because we know they're gonna get there. So we want to be at that
Exactly.
finish line, waiting for them to get there with the pom poms and everything. So I got you, Untamed. I love you.
Good. Thank you so much. Look, everybody please come to the party. We'll pop bottles together.
Thank you so much, caller. Untamed.
Yes, I am here.
Okay. Now she said she was erotica.
Erotic cookies. Yes.
Now is that a author name? A
Yes, that is awesome name. She she wrote this awesome book called Just a Little Bit More Under Erotic Cookie. So that is
Okay.
her.
Okay. So,
She is
so
a beautiful
I'm gonna
soul.
have to do some more research. I probably already seen the work. I have so many books in my head, but I'll definitely try to go do some research and maybe invite her onto the show, and we all do a show
Yes.
together.
Yeah, yeah, that is a very spicy read.
Oh, good. Okay, so I got some more spice. I'm gonna put that on my to do list. At the end of this call, you're gonna have to give me the information so I make sure because I think it was kind of faded in and out. So I make sure I can get that book and try to dive into it and kind of share it with some of my readers and give them all these options out here of great books. But let's talk about some more of your work. You have, I think it was Never Again Once More. That's your newest one, right?
Yes, never again no more. It's that's my latest release. That release officially January of this year. So
Mm-hmm.
it came out a day early, December 31st, but at the official release date was actually January 2nd. So it came out a little early, but this is book one of my urban fiction series, and it's Never Again No More. And that book basically follows four best friends. They all got pregnant in high school at different points of their high school life. They got pregnant, but the story picks up when they're in their early 20s, like 21, 22 years old, um, and how they're having to combat these different struggles as mothers, as women. They are growing and maturing and realizing that things need to change in their life, whether it's, personally as far as their goals, them being mothers, realizing they need to have better care for their kids, or, their relationships. They're just it's also kind of coming of age story for them where they're learning to grow up and mature, and they're kind of trying to find their way, and they go through these bumps, trials before they, of course, can get to their triumphs. But book one is really honing in on their backstory from the time that they got pregnant to the present moment where they're at now. And so you see they are really in the midst of their struggles. And while it follows their individual stories, it also flows together with them as friends because they're each other's support systems through any and everything that's going on.
So they're all four of them are pregnant at the same time, and I'm assuming they're giving birth at the same time. And are they in relationships, or they're going through the dynamics of relationships?
They are in relationships, and well, all of them except for two at the beginning of this. Two of the girls are actually in relationships. The other two, they are just having struggles with their baby's father, and they're not actually in it, but they're having struggles. And I said, Trinity is one of the main characters. She has a situation where she is with a guy who is in the street, and they have one child together. Before him, she was with guy her first love, Terrence, and her and Terrence ended up having two children. Um, he was also in the streets, but his in the streets was he was also doing like auto mechanics, but he kind of went into the streets because he realized, okay, we're young and we have two kids, and so I'm gonna do this to try to get my money up to make sure that you guys are straight. And he ends up going to prison. That's where they break up, and then she gets with the other guy, Pooch, and who she's in a relationship with now, and he is heavily in the streets. And so their story picks up where Terrence is out of prison and he's a good guy, he's a good father, he's not going back to the street life. But she has this tug of war because the guy she's with now cannot stand Terrence. Pooch can't stand Terrence. And Terrence, all he wants to do is be there for Trinity and his kids. And of course, Pooch is like, no. There's that tug of war that she has because she's trying to be true to the relationship she's in, but she has a pull with her baby's father who wants what's truly best for her and the children. So you have, that struggle with that. Lamika's story is really powerful because she is with her baby's father. They have two children. Her youngest son has autism. And Tony, who used to have a promising career in track and field, he hurt himself and he has gotten on drugs. So now she's in this relationship with a guy who's an active user and they have a son that has autism. So she goes through a lot with him and in her family life with her mother and her sister. You have Lucinda, who has one child, by Raul, who is a deadbeat dad altogether. And she, is really trying to find her way. She wants to go to school, college, and she wants to, get a degree so she can earn more money for her kid. And she really has a struggle because her father is a deadbeat father to them too, and her mother already has 7 other children. So you have that struggle. She's trying to really just make a way for her and her child, and she doesn't have the help, because her mama can, her daddy won't, and her baby's father won't. And then you have Sharice, who ended up having triplets by Ryan. And she comes from a stable home, so her parents helped her a lot. She finished school. She has a good career, but Ryan is a deadbeat as well, and he actually is in the NFL. So that is her story because he is not there for the kids at all. And she's still very much so in love with him, even though they're not together. So that is like the Cliff Notes version of all of their stories.
What was your inspiration for the story? What
I
inspired you to come
truly
up?
can't. What really led me to write this story is that I was a teen mom. So
Mm.
I wanted to write my experience, but also other females' experiences as well that I've heard of. So I always tell people there's a little bit of my own story in each one of these 4 women. It's like it's not the whole story altogether, but there are some elements of things that happen with me being a teen mom that are in each one of these ladies' stories. So
Wow, that's excellent. Um, we're gonna have to wrap it up, and I hate to have to wrap it up. What? And I have just one more question. What was the most surprising thing that you learned while writing The View and writing Never Again, No More?
what was the most surprising thing?
That you learned while you were writing these two books. What was the most?
Oh my gosh. The most surprising thing I learned with The View, I always say that. Let me start with The View. The most surprising thing I learned with The View is my imagination in romance. because I had never really taken the time to delve that deep into the deep romantics of it, like the, just the erotic side of everything and sexuality and everything. So that really surprised me of how creative I could really get with writing that. And with Never Again No More, the surprise to me is that I was really able to dig deep within and write the painful parts in the book of what happened with me. I literally, there are certain parts where I cried writing it. It wasn't exact, but it was very similar. And so having to, just go back into my own personal emotions and feelings at the time when I was going through certain things as a teen mother, having a young child, and I would put it in the individual stories. You know, it's hard to, even as an author, to kind of write your own personal experience unless it's exactly what you're trying to do. But for this story, it was one that it was inspired because of that, but I wasn't sure that I was going to go deep within my own personal vault of with it, and I did, and it surprised me that I first did it and how well I was able to do it, and it became a release, and so I was happy that I did it. I think it made the story 1,000 times better because it came from a very real place.
Oh, wow, that's excellent. Excellent response. I want to invite everyone to again go to www.thedocbookshop.com and you can go get the books. We will have those discounted and competitively priced to Amazon. So you can go out there and get those books, whether it's an ebook, audiobook, or paperback. Please go out to the website and get the book. And hopefully book clubs, if you can, just let Untamed know. How can they reach out to you to let you know that they've read your book and enjoy your work and what have you?
Sure. I am on Facebook on Author Untamed. I have a fan page there. I'm also on Twitter at Author Untamed. And I am on Instagram heavily because I have 3 Instagram pages.
Oh, my God.
I have Author Untamed on Instagram. It's the main page. But I have 2 pages dedicated for my books. I have at The View by Untamed and also Never Again No More, the series. So I separated those just because I wanted to have a platform for each series to have its own, its own shine. The View will be a series, and then of course, Never Again No More. It is going to be a 6-book series. So that's the reason why there are 3 different Instagram pages. But definitely to reach out, and I'm also on YouTube on the Author Untamed as well. So if push comes to shove, you can always find me on the Author Untamed.
Now, when's your next book coming out?
My next book is coming out in, oh my gosh, it is going to be August. It may early release in July, but definitely coming out August 2020. It will be Never Again No More 2. And I am currently working on The View 2, so hopefully I will be able to announce a release date for that soon.
Okay, good, because if it's in July or either it's in July or August, no matter what, we will try to get you on that live feed. I think I lost my schedule today. You have to be on point when you do Facebook Live feed, and I ran behind. So we're going to try to do that with your next releases if this COVID-19 does not clear up. If it does, maybe we can bring you into Dallas, Fort Worth to really, talk to your fans for your book. So usually we do the DFW Literary Soul Fest in September. But if this business doesn't clear up, we might just, work on doing an online feed with you again. So I want to.
I would love to come back.
Yes, or come to Dallas, Fort Worth.
Yes, now I would really love to do that.
Let's look.
Hopefully, Corona will leave us alone and go away and not return.
Yes, we'll look and see if we can. We'll invite you back to the area around September. we'll keep our eyes on what's going on. But hopefully, I think it will clear up, and we can move on to our literary soul fest that we do during National Literacy Month. So, and that's in September. So I would love to bring you to Dallas Fort Worth for that. I think you are
so
you are a great speaker, and I really love your work. So it's great, and I hope everybody else enjoy the work. Please visit www.thedogbookshop. Again, thank you for tuning in, and if you can reach out to us, and I think it's Author Cookie. Did I say that right?
Erotic cookie. Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
erotic cookie. Okay, I think I've seen it somewhere before. So let me look at that, and I appreciate you guys for coming on OnShore. Have a great day.